so pleased and honored to be sitting down in person with the very talented, award-winning actor, Mr. Adil Hussain. Adil, sir, thank you so much for taking this time.
To be here,
it is
Dilani.
so nice to
First time on video.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you. So, 3 years ago, we shared coffee over Skype.
That's great.
Yes, cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you. I had you on 1x2, our podcast, and it has gone down in history as one of the most listened to, most enjoyed episodes of the series. To be able to talk to you again now in person for our YouTube channel, it's my honor. So thank you.
Please.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So in our first, interview, which I can't believe was 3 years ago,
Yeah.
right? We talked a lot about your beginnings, in the song, working in teleserials, and your stage career, and your, very just fantastic career and body of work. Since then, you've only done even bigger and more impactful roles and things. And so, one of the things I think people most recently recognize you for on a more global scale is your role in this fantastic web series on Netflix, Dilani.
Right.
Being about this very, unfortunate and very well-known incident of the 2012 bus rape. 7 years, or let's say, 6 years when you were filming it after the incident. At that point, we haven't had any, Indian filmmakers come forward to tackle the subject. And then you have Rajinikanth, Canadian filmmaker, take on this topic.
Yes.
What were your feelings about getting involved with a series about this topic and with a, a non-Indian production or filmmaker about it,
Well, you brought in Richie's name. Richie is a local boy from Toronto, actually. And I have known him since most probably 2012. And I saw his film Siddharth. And I know how sensitively he can deal with a subject. And that was so important. And I know him personally very well. And I know that he would go to the fullest extent to tell a story which needs to be told, and yet respect every kind of sensitivity, every kind of human emotions which were involved, that how Delhiites and whole of India, almost the world, reacted and responded to this gruesome event which happened in 2012. And I trusted him completely. And when I read the script, I realized, oh yes, so he has done his homework for almost 4 years, and he met almost everybody who are involved. The police, he got the police involved to give him access to the files and how things happened, and investigation took place from the horse's mouth. So his advisor was the role that I played.
Yes.
He was the actual advisor on the show.
Oh, okay.
So he got all his episodes approved before he shot, so that we have a clear picture. Of course, certain things were fictionalized. So, but the question that you asked me was, what was my response? Or when I was approached, I was like, oh my God. I remember that incident and sort of scarred everybody.
Yeah.
Then I asked myself that, should we tell this story or should it let it be? Maybe it could have been a woman who have told the story. But then when I read the script, I realized that how Richie is so much of a woman as well. Because that's what is the greatest quality of a person who actually practice and take art as their religion. So artists must have both sides activated, a man and a woman within, because we each and every human being has that. From the standpoint of Indian mysticism, that we are Ardhana Rishwara, means half man and we're half woman. In Chinese culture as well, yin and yang, it's all together within us. This particular form, which is a male, physical body, is just a biological costume. Within, there is we are half-half, or we are none. Not even a woman, not even a man. We're just pure energy. If you go even deeper into it, so I'm not going there. So Richie has that quality. He understands the tendermost sensitive aspect of a human being, and he did it. And when I watched the series, I was so touched and moved, and also reminded that this should never happen again.
Yes.
So that's the quality of the series. It told us that don't let this happen again. We have our personal responsibility towards the fellow citizens, and especially women, how women are looked at in India and across the globe, and how male children should be educated in India as well. So we need to ask all these questions which are much greater, which has got much greater implications, and in the education system, as we parent our children, so we must find a way to educate them.
And when you were approached with this, I mean, enlighten me, was it always planned as a series like this and not as a feature film, say? When Delhi Crime was presented to you, was it presented as a series? Right, yes.
Because you see, in a feature film, we have 1.5 hours of international length, film length. In India, we have 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's different, but in a series, what happens that you have access to all these different people, those who are involved in a situation.
Yeah.
We get to empathize with them. A policeman in Delhi, as you have seen, the conditions that they live.
Yes.
Sometimes they don't even get to see their family for months.
Yeah.
They don't even have they are not even reimbursed the money that they put. They purchase the fuel to put in their vehicles to go for investigations.
Right.
And a city of 21 million in Delhi, and we have a force of some, 80,000. With all these constraints that they are doing a job, and then we demonize them quite often, almost in every film. And to some extent, some stories are right, but we don't see why they behave the way that they behave. And that's a job of an actor, of an artist. But I have a story, even Hitler had a story. Why he did what he did. I do not agree with him, but he has a story, and we must know that story so that we do not let another Hitler come to existence. So series, the question that you asked me, they allow you to go deeper into each character, to understand them, to look at their environment, to look at their predicament, the pragmatic situation, what they're going through. And then when they come out, you are with the person. You see the world from their point of view. In a film, it's very difficult to do. You can do it with the hero and the heroine, as they say, a few characters, but not all the minor characters.
And Delhi Crime is one amongst, a lot of recent South Asian series that have got a lot of international audiences. Can we see you doing a lot more series? Is this something you'd like to explore more in your career?
Yes, depending upon what kind of storyline. There are a lot of series which are coming out I don't agree with as well, because there's no censorship. There should not be any censorship, but it's a double-edged sword, you see. Yeah, I would love to be a part of any series which makes sense to me. Yes, I'm open to it.
So you actually mentioned something that leads into another question. Do you approach acting in a series differently from how you approach it for a film?
Not really. The only thing is that it's a longer run, and you, as an actor, I get the time to sort of fit into the vessel of the role. The culture of filmmaking, mostly in India, is that you don't have the time. You do, but very rarely those scripts come in that you have the time to sort of explore it first, rehearse, you find your space within, you find the truth of the role, of the situation, of the interaction and interrelationships between the characters, which is a luxury to ask for. So series, what happens that you get to sort of sink in slowly into the role, and you find the truth, and that makes it worthwhile for an actor to sort of like fit in. The only thing is that I live in Delhi and I do not like to stay away from my family for a longer time. So Delhi Crime was shot in Delhi, so it was good. Richie said, don't worry about it, you'll be home. We'll shoot you 3-4 days in a month, and we know. So, and also the subject was that I wanted to be part of it. So everything fell into place. It's nice to do something for, like how I balance my creative life. They keep asking me that. So you do all sorts of independent films where there is no money. And also I need to pay the bills. Nobody gives me anything for free. Yeah. So unfortunately that's the case. That's the reason I have to work throughout the year, for my artistic satisfaction and to satisfy the dil and the bills. So both.
We got the slogan for this video.
Yeah.
So, when I last interviewed you, we talked a lot about some films that, I've always been a really big fan of your choice of subjects and your support of female filmmakers and a lot of, topics of female empowerment, like Parched and the Indian Goddesses. And something we hope to do, through BFC is draw people's attention to lesser known films that need to be seen by larger audiences. One of my absolute favorite films of yours is actually a Norwegian film called What Will People Say? Intense was the word we used to describe it. Yeah. Fantastic film. Your role in it is so frightening and powerful. Yeah. And, to give people a little background, and I hope they can go find this film somewhere, that Iram Haq, a woman of Pakistani descent, who made this film based on her true life story about growing up in Norway and having a very strict father and growing up in a strict household. When they were disappointed with her ways, shipped her off to Pakistan.
Yeah, kidnapped her and sent her off there. Yeah.
Your role playing her father in the film. How did you feel about that subject matter and playing that character? I don't know if we can say it was your most frightening role, but to me it stood out very much so in your filmography.
Well, you see, when someone speaks the truth, and especially completely experienced by oneself, and writes a story and directs it, that means it is also for her a cathartic process.
Yes.
It is letting go of process. So when she approached me for the role, I said, I'm not going to play it as if your father was a villain. You have to give me enough substance to find the humanness in him, why he did what he did. Yeah. It's very important. So, and I remembered my dad as well. He didn't go to the point that he kidnapped anybody, but I'm just saying that he was extremely against the fact that I would go and explore, to be an actor. Yeah. And so I can understand her father, Iram's father, where he came from, how it could be traumatizing for a parent, for parents to face the neighborhood. What will people say? It's traumatizing, and I know how deep it goes and how frightened people are not to live up to the expectation of so-called morality which the society sort of imposes upon them, and which is the case. So I completely understood him. It's like, it's normal that this guy took his daughter to Pakistan to make sure that she does not, she should behave herself. But she didn't when she was in Norway. As simple as that for me. But do I agree with it? Of course not. But I didn't have any judgment about the character. You asked me how did I feel. See, for me as an actor or any actor, when I teach also at a different institution in the country, in the world, and that's my first advice, that you cannot judge a character that you're about to play. You may not, you should not, you never should. You must go into and sink yourself into it with a lot of empathy and love, then only you will not shy away to fit into the tiniest possible aspects which are almost invisible. Being directed by his daughter is the best thing that I could ever, ask for. That she gave me the insight, she led me through, okay, yeah, this is my father would do. He would love me so much. At the same time, it's almost like a disease, it's a switch that happens. No, this cannot be done. This cannot happen. I cannot accept it. And there was no attempt for the person to make the other person understand, to make her daughter sit and hey, let's have a chat about it.
Absolutely. So you mentioned something, working with a director like Ram, who, shoots her own life story, and I'm sure that was a very different experience of working with the director on something so close in subject matter. You've had so many different types of films in your career, big budget, small independent, no budget, as you mentioned. So curious to know, it's like working on such a big magnum opus like Super.
Well, it was just like really? Wow. And I was approached by one of my friends actually. So he got in touch with me that would you be interested? I said, yes, of course. When can we meet? And so I was in Pondicherry and Shankarji, he sent his, his chief AD and explained the story. I was like, okay, that's very interesting. Let's do it, And I get to work with Mr. Rajinikanth, and who I have, seeing him on big screens since my childhood. So it's like a great thing, It's the greatest opportunity. I think he's the true star. Only star in India, I would say that. Who, for whom things happen in a scale that no Indian star can ever imagine.
Yes.
So far.
Yeah.
So, working with him, and when I met him, he was so humble. I remember the incident that I was shooting that day and he wasn't supposed to shoot. And I was sitting in my trailer. And then this assistant director comes and says, Mr. Kant is coming to meet you. I'm like, who? I was not. So, I know him as Rajinikanth,
Yes, yeah.
Mr. Kant could be anybody.
Mr. Kant is the reference of
I said, where? So, to a trailer. I said, no, why? So that's what I wanted to tell you, that he is in the second floor, he's coming down. It would be good that if you... I was like, yes, of course, I'm going to come and see him. Stop him, go. So I put on my shirt and I just left. Because later I realized that he just dropped by. And he found out that I was shooting. And so when I went there, he said, oh, I love your work, English was... So he's so humble. And I think it should be an example for every actor in India, that how he does not care how he looks in everyday life. And most actors I've seen so far, that they are busy and they are extremely sort of worried to the point that oh my God, I have to do my hair, I have to do this, I have to wear some clothes, and I know who I'm wearing. And all those questions which are redundant, of course, I'm all for, aesthetics. Great, fine. But it doesn't have to become a disease. It doesn't have to become almost to the point that, oh my God, I don't know what to wear. Common audience recognizes him as one of us. Like he's a normal guy. And then he can do incredible things. So the love is twofold. Yeah. So the other stars in India, both from Hollywood and Tollywood and other things, they try to retain this, that hero or the persona, the star persona in everyday life, which is not necessary. I think that is, it doesn't. So they get divided. Okay, this is the guy who can do this, but not one of us. It doesn't belong to our category. It doesn't belong in our tribe. Common people do not recognize them as he belongs to our tribe. But for Rajinikanth, he is recognized by the commoners that he's like us. And he can do so much. So his humility brings or brings forth and attracts so much love from the audience. That's what my feeling is. And I love it. So it was a great opportunity for me to with Shankar. He was a thorough gentleman. And I asked him that, why did you ask me? You could have hired anybody from the song to play that role. He said, no, I like your work and you're very natural and you just speak and, you know. I guess, I think that it was like a great thing to happen to my life.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Okay. Last time you were actually here in Toronto in 2012, which was when I got to, in my fangirl format, got to see you on the red carpet for English.
Right.
Such a special premiere, such a special film.
Right.
Shridevi Man's big comeback film. Yeah. And now we're speaking about a year and a half after she unfortunately left us far too soon. What was it like to get to work with her, and especially on that comeback film, and having seen the whole cinema and just world population having lost such a wonderful, talented performer and icon? How does that now, in retrospect, how that experience probably has a lot more significance, I would feel, for you?
Yeah. It's hard to believe that she's not there. Like when I heard, I still remember clearly, I was about to wake up, like my alarm went. It was around 7:30 in the morning or 6:30. And alarm went, and immediately after that I got a call. I forgot from who. It says, is it true that she died? I was like, who? She did this. What? No. That was my first reaction. No. So then I started calling my journalist friends. I opened the Twitter. There was nothing much on Twitter then, at that particular time. And then I spoke to my journalist and said, yes, it was heartbreaking. It was like devastation for the simple reason that I think she's the only female actor in India, who had so much of truth in her performance. She's one actor who understood the Indian audience and the way that Indian acting history has influenced Indian audience. Now, in Kathakali, for example, like this is the audience and you are my co-actor. I would never look at you. I would always look at the audience and I will perform. And even if I have to talk to you, so the most I will do this, but never look at you. Sridevi, she knows what it means by connecting with the audience. This is audience for her. And she has mastered that craft. So she would never disconnect with the camera. She knows there is an audience and she understands the truth of that, but yet she finds a way to make sure that this truth that I'm talking to you is so much greater than that, but she never forgets that. In method acting, we are asked to forget the camera. Right. We're like, so we are talking. Yeah. And if they have to catch you, they catch you from here, there. But she does not. And she respects the audience immensely, that whatever I'm doing, finally it has to make sense to the audience. And that's very rare. Other actors have that. They face the camera, like I'm talking to you, this is the scene. Yeah. I'm doing it because it's a YouTube channel, interview. Otherwise I'd be talking to you like this. Yeah. I would not prefer the camera. Yeah. Other actors do it, but it would be artificial, like they'd be, hi, how are you? It's terrible. Yeah. But she mastered that craft. And she has that innocence, the vulnerability, the kind of tenderness, the almost extreme sensitivity towards everybody. She's extremely silent, so she listens so well all the time. I remember she would burst into laughter sitting somewhere there near the door, and we are having a conversation here, and she had been listening. So so you're listening to us, So she listens to everything. That's why her timing is so good as an actor. So it's not that she mastered the timing. She did not. I think she listens and she can come at the right time. You feel when you see her eyes, you can see through her, the soul, you can So real windows, those two are real windows to her soul. Very rarely I have seen any actor, male, female, both, in India. I think she's only actor in India so far that could have reached she's at par with Meryl Streep. Had she been given a great scripts. So she has never ever been, except for few films that I would say English, and maybe one or two earlier films. She is not, she did not get the scripts which
For her potential?
For her potential, ever, unfortunately. Extremely heartbreaking, even to think now that she's not there. Yeah.
What has been your most recent favorite topic, favorite character, and things that we can look forward to seeing you in soon?
Right. Well, I've done at most, I forgot exactly, but I played lead roles in 4 films and one very interesting role in one more film, which is done by Dharma Production. It's called Good News with Akshay and Kareena and Diljit Dosanjh and Kiara.
Yeah.
And Tiska Chopra and I are a pair, so those Kareena and Akshay are a pair, and Kiara and Diljit. It's the funniest so far that I've done in Bollywood film industry, Hindi film industry. Apart from that, one of my most favorite stories, which is based on a true story, called Pariksha, which means examination or exams, directed by none other than Prakash Jha, who is very, very well known and a great director, who always take issue-based film and make it accessible for the mass.
Right.
So this time he took me, not big stars. So which is very interesting to. I was like, why did you, how would you sell a film? He said, no, we'll do something about it. I said, okay. So it was great to work with him, and he's. The story is about a person, Riksha Pula, who dreamt to send his son to a very expensive school, and then what happens, and in the process of trying to fulfill his dream, how he loses his integrity as a human being, as a father, and all that. It's a tragedy. It should come out by the end of this year, or next year, most of the end of this year. So that is one of my most favorite films. I've done like $110 million film, which is Life of Pi.
Yes.
And I also have done Love Budget film, which we used to call Love Budget, is Mukti Bhavan Hotel Salvation.
Yes.
And then I've done No Budget film,
Yeah.
which is recently, in fact last year, June I guess, it's a year ago. It's called Lorni. It's a Khasi word from the northeast of India, the flaneur, the vagabond, the bohemian. So it's a story about this private detective in a small little town who has no work. Nobody would hire a private detective in a small town because there's police there.
Yeah.
So he's hired by a grandmother who lost one of small little thing which has got cultural value. It's almost like an artifact. The police wouldn't bother about it, so she came to know about my character, Shem, his name is, and he hires me through her granddaughter, who I ended up having a sort of relationship with. And in the process, he finds that there are a lot of things being stolen, which is related to their tribal culture, the Khasi culture, and in the process, what happens. So that's the film, directed by a very young, talented director, one from Dingdo. He made a lot of other documentaries, so it's his first feature film. And the other film I did is called, it's directed by his 17 times or 16 times National Award winner, Gautam Ghosh. So he approached me for this film called LAKEY, which is a tribal person from Jharkhand, previously Bihar, whose encounter with a tribal woman it's a one-day story, and how they have nothing, like they have no money. the entire world, and how these two people who are completely alone in the world has still left with this amazing humanity that you don't need to have a lot of things in order to help somebody else. It's a beautiful story of that. Neeraj Kavi plays another role who is in Sacred Games, and Tilottama Shom, she plays the woman to travel. So I'm looking forward to that. These are the 4, 5.
5, I think. Thank you so much for taking the time. It is always thrilling to listen to you talk about your craft and acting and films today. And so, yes, I know that we'll all get to see you a lot more often on screen. I hope I get to see you in person too.
I hope so too.
Yes, thank you so much.